Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, When Global Campaigns Go Wrong, the localization problems agencies don't see coming. It's great to see so many people from creative agencies on the call. I know how busy agency life can be, so I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. Apologies. It's great to see so many people from creative agencies on the call, as I was saying. I know how busy agency life can be, so I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Today's session will last around 20 minutes in total, and we'll have time at the end for questions and discussion. The session is being recorded, so if you need to drop off early, please don't hesitate to let me know. So before we dive in, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm James Brown, Head of Commercial at Comtech Translations. I spent the last 14 years working in translation and localization, and a big part of that time has been spent partnering closely with creative agencies. Some of my clients include Dentsu, PMG, McCann, and many, many more. When I'm not supporting my clients, I volunteer as Vice Chair for the Association of Translation Companies, or ATC, here in the UK. And 2 fun facts about me: I speak 3 languages, French, German, and Spanish, and I also play for and help to run an inclusive rugby team here in Warwickshire. So that's me. For those who are unfamiliar with Comtech, we are a global award-winning language, localization, and culture agency based here in the UK. We support global brands and their agencies communicate their message globally in over 250 languages. We're also the first and currently only UK translation company to be a certified B Corp. And as you may have gleaned from my client list, we support agencies working with global brands across campaigns, always on marketing content, project launches, and internal communications. So let's talk about today's session. For many creative agencies, working with clients whose campaigns need to launch across multiple markets is becoming more common. Global clients expect campaigns to scale internationally, and localization quickly becomes part of the conversation. Most agencies have some experience of this already. Sometimes it runs smoothly, other times it turns out to be harder to manage than expected. For example, the tone may not land quite right. Local teams start making changes, review cycles grow, and suddenly the agency is spending more time coordinating translations than planned. That's why we've designed this session to help agencies deliver global work more confidently. And we'll do this by looking at some of the localization challenges agencies commonly run into when campaigns expand across markets, and a few simple ways to make those projects easy to manage. We've also got an exclusive offer for all of our attendees as well, so stay tuned for the very end. So let's get started by looking at 3 distinct challenges that agencies tend to come across when we're talking about localization. Before we go any further, I'd like to make it clear that if you've experienced any of these challenges, it doesn't mean anyone is doing anything wrong. These are simply very common challenges that arise when campaigns start to scale internationally, or if you're new to localization and translation. Localization can be a foreign concept, pardon the pun, for anyone not involved in the industry, so we are very much here to help. So let's look at challenge number 1. The first challenge we're going to look at is we didn't realize how much localization was involved in this campaign. A very common one here. Many agencies do underestimate how much work sits behind launching a campaign across several markets. And at first, it can seem super straightforward. The campaign exists, so the next logical step appears to be translating it. But when a project begins, a lot of practical questions can appear. For example, which part of the campaigns needs careful adaptation? Which content can be translated more efficiently? How will local review processes work? How much time should be built into the overall schedule? So there's quite a few things at play. And because these decisions often are made quite late in the process, agencies can find themselves reacting rather than planning. And that's usually when localization starts to feel a bit bigger than expected. The second challenge is all about tone. Very common that my client might say the translations don't sound quite like the brand. Translations might be technically accurate, but something doesn't feel quite right about them. For example, the personality of the campaign might flatter and be really inspiring in the original language, but the messaging might not land the same way when translated. And when this happens, local teams or clients can often be found adjusting wording, leading to multiple rounds of revisions, feedback, and lots of work. And essentially, localization at this point becomes a creative discussion rather than a straightforward localization process. And finally, on that note, challenge 3 is another really common one, the review process. Even when translations are really good quality, managing feedback across multiple markets can quickly become quite complex. Different markets often have different reviewers, timelines, expectations, and feedback might arrive in various ways, whether it's emails, comments, lots of different versions of files. So suddenly the process, even if the translations are great quality, the process can be quite complicated, and the agency can find themselves coordinating lots of different streams of feedback all at once, which slows things down and puts pressure on delivery teams. So those are 3 common challenges that come up when we work with our agencies that they've experienced beforehand that we support them to navigate. And while these 3 challenges might on paper seem quite distinct, they're actually all connected and can contribute to the success or failure of a global campaign launch. To tackle these 3 challenges head on, I'd like us to look at 3 simple solutions agencies can put in place, which all work together to contribute to success. So, first, it's important to agree how localization will work at the very start of the campaign, ideally at the conception stage before any content is actually created. We'd recommend to start by getting together with your client and your localization agency, potentially if you have one in place, and clarifying the very basics of the project. This can include which markets are involved, which languages are required, who's going to review the content locally in terms of at the client side, how localization fits into the overall campaign timeline, who is going to localize the content and by which method, and what level of briefing is needed for all parties. Many challenges appear because these questions are answered too late in the game while the campaign's already underway. And agreeing all of these steps at the very start removes a lot of uncertainty later. So what are the results of this? You can expect the agency to gain a full picture view in advance if you're beginning earlier of the markets and languages required. You're able to put in place a comprehensive, defined strategy for localization for your client. You'll identify a translation partner in place to support you, whether it's the agency you're currently working with, or if you need to get another one on board, or a brand new agency if it's the first time you're ever localizing content. Asking these questions early also means you'll have time to share a comprehensive briefing with the localization team, which is super important in making sure the translations sound on brand and are in line with your client's requirements. So with everything set up early, you're set up to succeed. Timescales won't slip, the agency feels in control, and the client is happy. Let's look at suggestion number 2. So we always recommend matching localization efforts to each type of content. Now, it's easy to assume that all content should be localized the exact same way, but different content holds different levels of value. Not every piece of content essentially needs the same level of localization and translation. For example, some content sits very close to the brand and needs careful consideration and adaptation, whereas other content is more functional and can be handled more efficiently. We therefore recommend establishing a clear framework for content localization with your partner, your localization partner, and your client based on value and other criteria to help protect brand voice, timescales, and budget. On the screen, you can see an example of content impact matrix. Now, we use this matrix when working with our clients to help them identify which level of localization is needed for their content, or if it's an agency like all of you here today, for your client's content. To help do this, we look at all the content types available and we consider each piece of content or type of content against a range of criteria, including creativity, risk, brand proximity, commercial impact, audience size, and of course, budget and timescales as well. From this diagnostic, we can agree the best translation method for each type of content. Now at Comtech, we offer a tiered localization model with 3 core tiers, which ensures we can accommodate every budget, every type of content, and every deadline while respecting brand voice and terminology and style. So I'll quickly walk you through what these tiers are so you can see what's available. So tier 1 is machine translation with automated post-editing. This is very much powered by machine translation with a large language model for the editing stage, according to specified style prompts in line with your brand. This suits high volume, repetitive, low risk content where speed matters most. It is an AI only solution, but it's a customized solution, so a bit more advanced than what you would expect from a raw machine translation output, like a potential free tool you could find online. A great use case for this type of solution is e-commerce product descriptions, high volume, repetitive content. Tier 2 in the middle is machine translation with linguist post-editing. A lot of day-to-day marketing content can now sit in this with this solution, and you can have multiple rounds of linguist post-editing. We recommend 1 or 2 for absolute polish and perfection. This is where a lot of marketing content, such as landing pages, blogs, for example, might sit. And then tier 3 is fully human translation, localization, and transcreation, which is what should always be utilized for your brand critical content. So where brand voice, style, nuance, creativity, impact, all these things really, really matter for that piece of content or that campaign. So things such as high priority campaigns, new website launches, product brochures that are super brand new, and campaign taglines and headlines. This is a great use case for this type of translation solution, or as I like to call it, the old traditional methods. They never do fail. So as you can see, there are several choices, but the point is you as the agencies don't need to make these decisions alone. Your agency partner will help you to make the right decisions, and the best outcomes arrive when the agency, yourselves, your localization partner, and your client are fully working in alignment. And for you as the agencies, that's a commercial opportunity because you stop selling translation as part of the campaign and you're offering your clients a global localization strategy for their campaigns. So what are the results of this solution? So you're optimizing your client budgets by saving your budget on less stylistic repetitive copy and investing more where nuance, impact, brand voice, and style are absolutely essential. It means across the board, translations are fit for purpose. And because you've had these conversations up front, there are no surprises in terms of quality levels, delivery times, pricing, etc. At the end of the day, it makes the translation process transparent, simple, effective, and collaborative. Now, let's look at our third and final solution. We talked about the review process being complex, which can absolutely happen. But we recommend working with your translation partner and your client to set up a review process that's as clear and simple as possible. This means having conversations at the very start to agree who is going to review the content client side in each market. How long will they be allocated to give their feedback that fits in with the campaign timescales? How will they conduct the reviews? So what is the method they'll be sharing, conducting their reviews in, and how will they be sharing their feedback with the localization team? Also really important, what level of feedback is expected? Do you want full rewrites? Do you want them to focus on style, terminology, etc.? So making sure they have a really clear brief. In our experience, when reviewers understand what they're reviewing, why they're reviewing it, and how the process works, the feedback becomes more focused and the campaign moves much more smoothly and things aren't stuck in review for weeks on end, which can absolutely happen if lines of communication are blurred. I'd also like to share a few extra top tips that I like to call the gold standard of a review process. So by all means, please do steal these. So we always recommend setting up a briefing process that includes your translation partner and their linguists at the very start of the campaign. We also recommend providing samples, requesting samples from your translation partner to provide to your client and organising feedback calls with the client's reviewers and the linguists. It really helps bring to life any challenges and preferences that have arisen, and we can get these all finalised going forward and incorporated into all your translations. We'd also recommend working with your translation partner to establish glossaries and style guides and share these with your client so everyone is working from the same hymn sheets, whether it's the translators or the reviewers. Where possible, utilise online review technology to expedite the review process. This all helps to capture changes much faster and client preferences and incorporate those into a translation memory so they're stored for future reference. It really does help that with that consistency piece on an ongoing basis and also speed. And finally, where possible, depending on your setup, we always recommend integrating your translation partner into communications where necessary to discuss feedback directly with the client review teams. The more collaboration, the better. So what would the results be of putting this into place? So client teams are fully bought in because they've been involved from the very start and you've worked with them to set up a process and get them all happy with the translation quality. All parties are singing from the same hymn sheet. This means an effective, streamlined, continuous feedback loop is now in place, which will help reduce time spent by the client reviewing translations and reduce the time spent by yourselves, the agency team, managing the review process, which can become cumbersome. And also, added bonus is the translation team, because of the collaboration and that strict process, they get up to speed with client preferences much, much quicker. Right, we're almost at the end of the session, so let's wrap up by recapping a few key takeaways to finish off. So, disclaimer, agencies do not need to become localization experts. What helps most is simply having a clear structure for planning, translating, and reviewing global content. And to do this, we recommend getting the right translation partner in place to support you with actualizing all of this and supporting you iron out any challenges and making sure things work expertly for your client. So those are a few of the localization challenges we often see when campaigns expand across multiple markets and some simple ways that agencies can make their projects easier to manage. Before we wrap up, if you're looking for support with localization and translation, Comtech are very much here to help. Feel free to call on us for quote and pitch support for new opportunities, content and reason recommendations for both new and existing clients who might be looking to localize their campaigns for new markets or additional ones, or for the first time. Through a company like Comtech, you can access a full suite of translation approaches, all the way from AI translation straight through to transcreation and copywriting directly in the target languages. We're also on call to help with you prep for any client discovery calls, whether that's including joining them or helping you prepare and help working out which questions to ask, along with delivering training on translation for your clients and sales teams. We're also here to offer white label support as well, should you need support with project management. So if you'd like to book in a session with me or our team to discuss how we can support your agency with localization, either for as a whole or for a client opportunity, simply scan the QR code below to book in a call with me. I'll leave it on the screen for a few seconds before moving on. Awesome. And as mentioned at the very start of the webinar, we have a special offer for our attendees today. If you'd like to download a free copy of our guide, Smarter Localization for Global Marketing, which is full of even more top tips on how to optimize your translation workflows and explore AI in localization as well. Again, just scan the QR code on the screen to download your copy. You can also download this content from our website, and you can also book in a call with us if you'd like to discuss a particular opportunity. Right, that brings us very nicely to the end of our webinar. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. As mentioned, do reach out to me. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me an email or call. My details are on the screen at the moment. I'm always here to share ideas and compare experiences to support you with a particular campaign or client opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your afternoon, and I'm here to help if you need us. Thank you very much. Goodbye.